I watched and ranked every indie animation show on YouTube. Some are good, some are great, and some physically hurt me. Looking at you. Amazing Digital Circus. This show surprised me. When I see a thumbnail that looks like this, I assume that the show is going to be for dumb, stupid babies. But this show is actually for intelligent, refined babies like myself. Once you look past the bright, shiny colors and childish designs, the show is actually about struggling with mental health. You can tell that the creators are a little annoyed that their audience is almost all small children, because they progressively make each episode less child-friendly. The first one has singing and action scenes, then the second is existential dread, and the third is nightmare fuel and grieving for your dead wife, and the fourth is literally just a mind-numbing shift at McDonald's. I personally can't wait for episode 5, where the characters are going to wait in line at the DMV for 2 hours. A tier. Llamas of Hats. This show is about a homicidal llama. Do I even need to say more? That's comedy gold right there. Every episode is just Carl committing acts of brutal violence and then denying it.
Oh, that was a foot. I appear to have swallowed an entire person.
What carries the show is the obnoxiously catchy writing and voicing. I can still hear... And just when you start to get bored of the endless slaughter, the show switches it up and goes from being an absurdist comedy show to a poignant, emotional show about a depressed llama who drives away his only friend because of his tragic, violent tendencies. So there's something here for everyone. If you want a funny show about llamas eating baby hands, you got that, brother. And if you're one of those nerds that wants shows to have themes and character development, well, it has that too. S tier. While Llamas of Hats ended with the bold message that murder is bad, Helluva Boss says that murder is actually kinda based. It's about a bunch of demons that kill people for money. Helluva Boss has everything you could ever ask for. Animation, action, songs, jokes, horny. The only thing it doesn't have is consistent quality. The animation's great, like unbelievably great. Helluva Boss completely raised the bar for YouTube animations. When I was a kid, we considered this groundbreaking animation. The action's good. It kind of lacks tension, but hey, it's pretty. The songs, they sure do exist. The humor is where things really get dicey. I actually like some of the jokes. I find him funny. I find her funny. I find her funny. You know who I don't find funny? This guy, which is a bit of a problem because he's the main character and he doesn't shut up. Anytime there's a good scene going on, this rat pops his annoying little head in and ruins it with an unfunny sex joke.
Let's three-way.
Go on, Blitz. I hate this dude so much, he is single-handedly dragging the show down to C tier. Hazbin Hotel. Set in the same universe as Helluva Boss, this show answers the question of, what if Helluva Boss didn't have Blitz dragging it down? And also got millions of dollars of funding from Amazon. The answer, it's much, much better. Thanks, Jeff Bezos. Charlie is a great protagonist. Alistair's fun. This guy sucks. Lucifer is good. They named a character Vaggie for some reason. The animation's somehow even better. The songs are actually mostly good this time. The only problems are the plot, which wastes way too much time on useless filler, and this dude, who is definitely the Blitz of this show, complete with even less funny sex jokes.
Oh, harder, Daddy.
Ha ha ha. Good one. And yet, somehow he's the most popular character. Why? Why are people like this? B tier. Murder Drones. This is the most teen angsty show I've ever seen. Scratch that. This is like pre-teen angst. It's about a robot who's not like the other robots. It has big dreams, violent tendencies, and also a dark, mysterious past. You might be wondering which character I just described. All of them. Murder Drones is a confusing show, and not in a, wow, this is a great mystery kind of way. More like, I cannot comprehend what is occurring on the screen. The dialogue is rapid fire. Characters change their minds and their entire personalities at the drop of a hat. And the lighting is way too dark. Oh, and maybe I'm just a robot racist, but these clankers all look the same to me. On the plus side, the animation looks great when I can actually see what's going on. And the frantic, borderline, overwhelming pacing does at least mean that I'm never bored. And as a person suffering from a severe case of brain rot, I can afford some respect to any show that could hold my attention. But not that much. C tier. Lackadaisy, the show about a Prohibition-era bar. Now, how do you trick children into watching a historical period piece? Furries, and guns. There's not a whole lot to judge Lackadaisy on right now. There's only a pilot out, and it's mostly just one long action scene. I don't really know anything about the characters or the plot. I just know that this animation looks pretty clean. Because this really isn't a full-fledged show yet, you really can't give it anything higher than C tier at this point. The only possible reason that you could give this higher than C tier right now is if you're, I don't know, attracted to the cartoon cats. B tier. Red Ape Family, the NFT-inspired cartoon. You know, I once gave my girlfriend an NFT for Valentine's Day, and she promptly dumped me in the middle of an Olive Garden. That's what watching the show feels like. I seriously don't know what is even happening.
Here are the documents, my hairy friend.
This show got absolutely roasted by the entire internet when it first came out. So the creators completely changed the plot to make YouTubers the main villains. Hey, wait a second. Transition. This video is sponsored by no one. I have 30 subscribers. No one's gonna sponsor me. But you could change that. Charlie the Unicorn. Made by the same person as Llamas of Hats, this show is pretty similar, except while Llamas of Hats was 70% gratuitous violence and 30% random nonsense, Charlie the Unicorn is 70% nonsense and only 30% violence.
Grab onto our tongues.
How do I...
Now, some people think that this lol random style of humor doesn't hold up today. I am not one of those people. This show goes hard. It's so fire that it taught an entire generation of kids to pronounce Liapleurodon wrong.
It's a Leopleurodon, Charlie.
Its only mistake is that in the grand finale, the creator fell for the classic indie mistake and started to inject lore into it. I don't understand indie animators' obsession with adding complicated backstories to their silly gag cartoons. I did not need a 40-minute finale that is literally twice the length of the rest of the series just to explain the origins of the pink unicorn.
They aren't unicorns, they're corpses puppeted by demons.
What, really? I'm really upset by that.
But overall, A tier. What if you took Charlie the Unicorn, removed all the lame plot stuff, and jacked the insanity meter up to 11? You get Charlie Tay Unicron, a parody series made by the same creator who wanted to show viewers how terrible the show would be if he took every viewer's suggestion. But he was wrong. The viewers are actually geniuses, because I like this way more than the original. Half the jokes are actually funny, and the other half are so unfunny that they wrap right back around to being ironically hilarious.
I have an idea. What if we all made out? Well, fine.
Do I have the humor of an 8-year-old? Possibly. S tier. Bigtop Burger. This show is about British people. D tier. Ramshackle. This show is about poor people. F tier. Such a shame. It was a funny show. Correction, Bigtop Burger isn't actually about British people. Turns out I was just hallucinating British accents. I'll give it an actual review. Bigtop Burger is about food truck workers whose boss is actually a secret clown alien of magic powers or something. I don't know. It feels like something Rick and Morty would watch on interdimensional cable. Voice actors even have that same Rick and Morty like improvisational-esque speech pattern where it sounds like they're always just about to break into laughter.
Nobody could even digest what we're making.
I'm actually a little embarrassed that I find the show funny. Not sure what that says about my maturity.
I smoked this jewel, and it did unthinkable things to my mind and body.
I only have 2 complaints. I do not care for this animation style, and I don't like that Season 2 is a lot less random and a lot more plot-based. I mean, they gave an actual backstory to Magic Alien Clown Guy. Stop with the film theory lore bait and go back to making the clown Jewel. But overall, A tier. Salad fingers. Okay, this time I'm certain that the show is actually about British people, and I do not care for it.
Would you care for a spot of ruby tea?
This show is weird. There is a line between good weird and I'm gonna vomit weird, and this show crosses it.
The feeling of rust against my salad fingers is almost orgasmic.
No. Nope.
The most beautiful boy in the world.
Absolutely not. D tier. And the only reason it's not F tier is because he's just too darn cute. Gaslight District. It's a show about immortal zombie criminals who live in basically hell and love murdering people. So it's Helluva Boss, but it's green. There's only a pilot right now, but I can't say I'm too impressed so far. Sure, they've created an interesting world full of what I'm sure will be interesting mysteries, but they kind of forgot to give me a reason to care. And that comes down to the characters, who I just find so unlikable. They're terrible, homicidal people, but they're not funny enough to compensate for that. Like, don't get me wrong, I am all for mass murdering psychopathic characters, but they gotta be funny. You also need to give them some actually human traits to make them rootable. Brain Knife Guy is the only one to show even a glimmer of actual emotion, which is ironic because the actual human in the show is a soulless husk devoid of any discernible personality. The character designs are also a bit too grotesque for my taste. It's like someone turned those SpongeBob gross out gags into a full series. The actual animation is amazing, but the designs, they're not too great. But like I said, there's only a pilot so far, and I'm sure they'll flesh out the characters more. But like with Lackadaisy, there just isn't enough of a show here yet to actually give it anything higher than D tier. And Gaslight District, unlike Lackadaisy, doesn't have some sexy smoking hot cats to save it either. D tier. Skibidi Toilet. I have a confession to make. I actually like the first few episodes of this. Something about that face singing nonsense words while it spins around in a toilet. It's just mesmerizing. What can I say? I don't know what that says about my brain chemistry or attention span. Probably nothing good. If this show stopped at episode 28, I'd actually put it in a solid A tier. But it just keeps going. And at a certain point, it shifts from being about singing toilet monsters to being an action show about fighting giant robots. Not a fan of that switch up. The singing toilets were ironically bad in a way that I could find amusing, but the action scenes are just garden variety bad. I had to watch 78 episodes of this. And while the first 60 episodes are all under a minute, those last few episodes are so long. D tier. That's my list. Normally, here's where I would tell you that, it's just my opinion and you're welcome to disagree. But nope, this list is objective reality, and any disagreement will be taken as an act of war.